Time for Dodger Baseball. Live from Dodger Stadium, Sportsnet LA presents the Dodgers as they take on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Thursday evening to you, wherever you may be. We're at Dodger Stadium opening up a series with the Bucks, first game of a four-game series. The pitching matchups, Dan Herron on the mound for the Dodgers with a record of 5-3. He was a big man at Pepperdine. And on the mound for Pittsburgh, Garrett Cole, who was not a particular standout at UCLA, nevertheless a first-round pick. The amazing thing about young Cole, 29 starts in his big league career. He's gone at least 5 innings in every start. But there's an even better note on him. His first 2 major league victories were against former Cy Young Award winners. His first game, he beat Tim Lincecum. And the second game, he beat the Dodgers' Zach Greinke. For the Dodgers, 5.5 games behind San Francisco, and for Pittsburgh, 8 games behind Milwaukee. So those are some of the pregame notes. We're coming up with a ball game and a whole lot more right after this.
Welcome back to Dodger Baseball. Fans already making their way into Dodger Stadium as they get ready for Game 1 of a 4-game set between the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Los Angeles Dodgers. Hello, everybody. I'm Alana Rizzo. Welcome inside Dodger Stadium. Time now to talk a little defense. And what I'm talking about Justin Turner at third base tonight for the Dodgers. He's making his 12th start at third base for the club and really has come around defensively for this team in his first year as a Dodger. You can see it there on your screen. 3 beautiful defensive plays when Hyunjin Ryu was on the mound, and he took a perfect game into the 8th inning. He's not just doing it, however, with the glove. Justin Turner really trying to work on things offensively. Don Mattingly saying earlier today he loved the versatility that he has in his first season with the Dodgers. 21 starts this season, 12 of them, as I mentioned, at third base. His last 5 games, he's really picked it up offensively. A .294 average, 2 home runs, and 3 RBIs. And really what makes him so valuable is his versatility, his ability to play pretty much every single infield spot. Look for Justin Turner tonight at third base behind Dan Herron. As far as the starters in this game, a good one for you once again. Dan Herron on the bump for the Los Angeles Dodgers. Of course, the legendary Vince Scully on the call right after the break.
Thursday evening to you, wherever you may be. Welcome to Dodger Stadium and Game 1 of the 4-game series with the Pirates. For the Dodgers and Pirates, their first meeting of the year. Last year, the Dodgers won 4 of the 6. And right now, the Dodgers take the field. One of the big notes for the Dodgers against Pittsburgh here at Dodger Stadium, the Dodgers have won 9 in a row against Pittsburgh here. No wonder the Pirates have not won. Over that 9-game stretch, they've scored only 10 runs. So Dan Herron trying to pick up where he left off, 2-0 against any team here at Dodger Stadium. He is 3-2 lifetime, but he does have a 2-game losing streak. And for Dan Herron, 8 strikeouts for 9 innings has been his average to give him a record of 5-3. Clint Hurdle, a former cover boy. He was one of the great-looking players you ever saw when he was 20 years old. We'll tell you more about him. A very interesting man, but right now his lineup is more interesting. Here it is. Josh Harrison leads off in right field, followed by Neil Walker at second base, Andrew McCutchen in center field, and Ike Davis at first base. Russell Martin, an old pal, behind the plate. Pedro Alvarez at third base. Starling Marte in left field. Clint Barmas, the shortstop. Garrett Cole from UCLA on the mound for Pittsburgh. It's a good collegiate battle. They both left the campus, but Dan Herron, while he was at Pepperdine, he won 134 games out by the sea, and he draws a UCLA X on the mound tonight. The Pittsburgh Pirates are 8 games behind Milwaukee, and you would think that they'd be doing better in the run column in the month of May. If you look at the Pirates in this month, they have 245 hits and 86 walks. So that's a lot. But with all of the hitting and the walks, they're 7th as far as scoring runs. So they've left a lot of men on base. They've only scored 100 runs all month. Josh Harrison. Well, the first thing you want to know about him, his uncle is John Shelby, one of the more popular players and coaches here. Josh takes a strike, and the count 0-1. Harrison had the pleasure of breaking up a Justin Verlander no-hit bid. He takes down and away, and the count 1-1 strike. Beautiful evening here in the ballpark, 72 degrees. Herron, who works quickly, comes right back, and it's lifted to right field. Puig, almost motionless, hands at his side, and then one-hands it for the out. Was that a show bid play? Maybe so. But if the crowd enjoys it, yes, he'll put it on. But on that ball, he was a Statue of Liberty out there in right field. Talking about Puig, let's talk about the Dodgers in the field. Kemp, Ethier, and Puig in the outfield. The infield of Turner, Ramirez, Gordon, Gonzalez. Behind the plate would be Tim Fedorovich with Dan Harron on the mound. The batter now, Neil Walker, switch hitting second baseman. Very good one, takes a strike. Walker punches that time card every day. He's played all 52. This will be his 53rd game. 10 home runs. It's tops for second baseman, and he pulls one foul outside of first base down the line. 0-2 the count. Neil Walker. Walker, a solid part of this Pirate ball club. And then, of course, their MVP, Andrew McCutchen, hits back of him, so Walker's job is to get aboard. Strike 2 pitch on the way. Neil hits a one-hopper by a diving Gonzalez on out into right field. For Neil Walker, the background of Neil is rather interesting, especially when you get to his father, Tom. His father, Tom, played with Roberto Clemente, and they became good friends. And after the 1972 season, the young relief pitcher, Tom, played winter ball in Puerto Rico with Roberto Clemente. So here's McCutchen coming up. Anyway, the day of the flight that Roberto Clemente was going to take to Nicaragua on New Year's Eve, the pitch to McCutchen, a strike, and the count 0-1. Neil's father, Tom, insisted on helping Clemente load the plane with food and clothing and everything that Roberto was going to take. And when they finished loading the plane, Neil Walker's father said, "I'm going to go with you and help you unload it." McCutchen takes inside, 1-1 strike. Anyway, Clemente said, "No, Tom, it's New Year's Eve. It's a great night to have a party. You go home with your family, and I'll take everything to Nicaragua." The 1-1 pitch on the way. McCutchen hits it in the air to right center. Puig on the move this time. Looks up in the powder blue, makes the catch, and Walker gets back to first. So, as history will tell you, Tom Walker left the airplane, finished loading up, slammed the doors, etc. Clemente took off and never saw him again. And of course, Tom to this day realizes what a tremendous connection he had with Roberto Clemente. Here's Ike Davis with a runner at first, 2 down in the first inning. Ike hitting .269, throw to first. Diving back to the bag is Walker. Walker is 1 for 1 in stolen bases, so he's not a big threat. Meanwhile, Ike Davis, whose full name is Isaac Benjamin Davis. The pitch to him is low, ball 1. Isaac Benjamin Davis, certainly a strong Jewish heritage. His mom was from Lithuania and lost most of her family in the Holocaust. However, although he is proud to be Jewish, he is not religious. He hits one in the air down the left field line, foul and out of play. And for Ike Davis, whether you come into his clubhouse, wherever that might be, or if you leave his clubhouse, he will say shalom, which is the Jewish word for both hello and goodbye. I guess the equivalent is aloha in Hawaii. Anyway, interesting note on Ike Davis. Big left-hand batter, swings, doesn't get it, and the count 1-2. Davis' grandfather on his father's side was a paratrooper in the United States Army who landed in France on D-Day, June the 6th, 1944, and helped liberate one of the concentration camps. Runner goes, pitch is high, the throw is down there to get him. Tim Fedorovich shoots down Neil Walker. The Pirates go no runs, one hit, nobody left, and at the end of half an inning, no score. Dodgers coming up in the bottom half, so we'll take a look at Don Mattingly's lineup. No dramatic changes there. D. Gordon leads off. Andre Ethier hits second in center. Yasiel Puig has gone quite a run. He's reached base safely now in 29 straight. Then you have Hanley Ramirez and Adrian Gonzalez. Matt Kemp in left field hitting sixth. Justin Turner at third. Tim Fedorovich behind the plate. And Dan Herron on the mound. On the mound, and welcome to Dodger Stadium, Garrett Cole. Garrett, born in Newport Beach, lives in Santa Ana. First round pick by the Pirates out of UCLA. He was 8-2 at UCLA in the year that he was drafted. He grew up a rabid Yankees fan. His dad's from upstate New York, but he went to Angel games all the time. And eventually he was drafted by the Yankees, but he turned them down, and it paid off for him. By the time they came around to get him again, first round pick by the Pirates for a lot of money. Cole is a big man, 6'4", 235. D. Gordon has a look at a strike, and the count 0-1. Gordon hitting .289 with a home run, 13 runs batted in. Had a double, a single, and a walk last night, and a big stolen base. Strike one, pitch is lifted in the air. Trotting in for it is Starlin Marte, and makes the catch for the out. So Gordon lifts one away. Here are the Pirates defensively. Davis, Walker, Barnes, and Alvarez. Marte, McCutchen, and Harrison. And old friend Russell Martin behind the plate. So Garrett Cole has retired the first man. Now he gets Andre Ethier. Ethier ready to check in, batting .271. 3 home runs, 25 runs batted in. Cole looks down the barrel to get a sign. Now Garrett turns, and his first pitch on the outside corner for a strike. Ethier with Yasiel Puig on deck. Beautiful evening, 72 degrees here at Dodger Stadium, and the prospects the beginning of what could be a solid 4 games against Pittsburgh. Ground ball over first base and down the line. Ethier is halfway to second. They're going to wade into third. The throw from second base is not in time. So Andre Ethier the other night had a home run and a triple, and this time he just does beat the throw from Neil Walker after the recovery in the right field corner by Josh Harrison. So a 1-out triple for Ethier, and here comes Yasiel Puig. So for Andre Ethier, pretty good stretch coming up with 2 triples. Ethier certainly not known for his extra base power. So he has 8 doubles, and now as he stumbles at the bag, he has 2 triples. So Puig trying to pick him up. Yasiel, who has reached base safely in 29 straight games, hit, walk, hit by pitch, whatever, trying to pick up Ethier and get the Dodgers on the board. Garrett Cole delivers, fastball low and away, ball 1, 1-0. Puig putting up big numbers, 344 batting average, 11 home runs, 39 runs batted in. One of the things you get when you're facing Garrett Cole, you can get a fastball that's 100 miles an hour. He has a 4-seamer that's been clocked as high as 102. Back he comes, a little roller up along third that turns foul, and the count 1 ball and 1 strike. It has been the merry month of May, whether it's in Happy Havana or for the Dodgers and Yasiel Puig. A 406 batting average, he's first. Home runs tied for 4th with 8, 3rd in RBIs with 24, and 1st in slugging. Yasiel Puig. Ethier standing at the bag at 3rd. Garrett Cole, right foot on the rubber, looks down to get a sign. Garrett out of a stretch. Quick look over at Ethier. The pitch to Puig, lifted to very shallow right field, and it has a chance to drop, and it does. Puig on his way into second base with a pop fly double, and the Dodgers lead 1-0. So Garrett Cole sees a triple by Ethier. I'm sure he's thinking that should have been a double. And then he sees a catchable fly ball. However, you can't be in 2 places at once. Harrison was very deep. Neil Walker was overshifted and had to come back an angle. He couldn't get there. Harrison had run by the play already. And Ethier picks up a gift double. He's now reached safely in 30 straight and picks up an RBI at the same time. So Cole showing his annoyance as he shook his head. And the batter now, Hanley Ramirez. Hanley Ramirez struggling, obvious to everybody, hitting .245. 7 home runs, takes a strike, and the count 0-1. So the Dodgers waiting and hoping that Ramirez will find his way back. So Yasiel Puig picks up the run batted in on a fly ball double to right field. Strike 1 pitch on the way. Hanley pops it up in foul ground. Coming over is Ike Davis and makes the catch. And the Hanley Ramirez story, one of frustration and bitter disappointment, continues.
First baseman number 23, Adrian Gonzalez.
Adrian Gonzalez coming up. Hanley head down, carrying his bat. Looks almost despondent going back into the dugout. And it's taken him a long way to reach the dugout. And he's not going to put the bat away. He's just holding on to it. So here's Adrian Gonzalez now trying to pick up Puig. They have overshifted the shortstop, who is almost behind Puig. Third baseman Pedro Alvarez way off the line at third. Garrett looks back. Right-hander deals inside at the hands. Ball one. So, of course, with Pedro Alvarez so far away from the bag, there is some concern for the Bucks as far as whether Puig would try to come all the way and steal third. He has not been a very successful base stealer. The 1-0 pitch on the way, in for a strike, and the count 1-1. Puig has stolen 5, but he has been caught 4. And with Adrian Gonzalez, such a clutch hitter throughout his career, there's no reason for Yasiel to gamble. Dodgers lead 1-0, and we're in the first inning. Cole ready, here he comes, and it's low and inside, ball 2, 2-1. Cole not only with that 101 mile an hour four-seamer, his two-seamer can get as high as 95. He has a slider that can get as high as 91. Curveball about 85, and a pretty good changeup. Just a young pitcher, a brilliant young pitcher starting out in his career. This would be his 30th start. Fastball hit late and foul. 98 miles an hour will make you be late, and especially at this hour where the lights certainly do not take effect. A bright blue canopy, kind of a UCLA blue sky in honor of Garrett Cole. He pitched against the Dodgers in Pittsburgh. So for the young fella from locals and the campus of UCLA, he has now made it to the mound at Dodger Stadium. 2-2 the count. There goes Puig, and on a hit and run foul ball up third, down the line, out of play. There wasn't much that Gonzalez could do, but Puig was thinking, as we had mentioned, with the third baseman Alvarez so far off the bag. That door was wide open, and he thought he might take a shot at it, but Gonzalez fouled the pitch off. 2-2 to Adrian. 1-0 Dodgers. 2 down, first inning. Andre Ethier tripled, home safely in the dugout, enjoying a 1-0 lead. 2-2 pitch on the way, and Gonzalez checks inside. Great save by Russell Martin. Big sweeping slider that almost went to the backstop. When you see a pitch like that, you immediately wonder, and the answer is that Garrett Cole has 5 wild pitches. Well, that pitch was really heading for the backstop, except for Russell Martin. 3-2 pitch on the way. That's low, ball 4. So Gonzalez walks, and the batter will be Matt Kemp. Dodgers with a triple and a pop fly double to lead 1-0. And Matt Kemp coming up now against Garrett Cole. Matt hitting .255, 5 home runs, 13 runs batted in. Cole looks in to get a sign. Dodgers take their leads. Infield back to a more orthodox setup. Cole ready and delivers. Fastball hit the third. Nice pick by Alvarez for a force play at second. 1 run, 2 hits, 2 left, and at the end of an inning, Dodgers 1, Pirates nothing. Puig cashes him in with a pop fly double, and we're heading for the second inning. It is sunset time here at Dodger Stadium and throughout this area, and because of the setting sun in the west, Yasiel Puig now has very light lensed tint to the sunglasses that he's wearing in right field. Haven't seen him do that before. He doesn't wear them when he hits. So Ike Davis was left at the plate and returns to say shalom, and it'll be Davis, Martin, and Alvarez in that order. Ike hitting .269, 3 home runs, 16 runs batted in. And the 1-0 pitch in for a strike, and the count 1-1. Ike Davis, among other things, was playing over in Arizona and didn't feel well. He got a cortisone shot on a bone bruise, but there was something more than that. He fouls the pitch away. And in March of 2012, they found out that Ike Davis had contracted valley fever, which is a fungal infection found in the desert regions of the Southwest. And for a ball player playing in that area, he was out in just that kind of environment every day. It took quite a bit out of him in 2012, and he hit only .227. So Ike waiting. Aaron checks ready, and his 2-2 pitch on the way. Swung on, lifted to left center. Ethier started back, now comes over to make the play. So it is a tough time to hit. It's also a tough time to defend. And for Ethier, he almost took himself out of the play going back. But that's the problem of sunset time, and you're deep in a ball game. So 1 away, and Russell Martin has returned to Dodger Stadium. The Dodger catcher who played for 5 years from 2006 through 10, checking in at .253. Russell takes a high slider for a strike, and the count 0-1. Russell waits, and Herron is ready, and all of a sudden the plate umpire, Chris Guccione, says no, hold it. Maybe requested by Martin. Strike one pitch on the way. The right-hand hitting catcher grounds it to third. Backing up for the hop is Turner, and throws him out. Nice play by Justin. He has the arm. It's the luxury of having the ability to back up on a ball and yet know you can bail yourself out. Juan Uribe is back in the dugout talking to Arabuena. However, it's going to be a while yet before they get Uribe back. So now with 2 down, Pedro Alvarez, the #1 hitter on the club coming up, the one who can hurt you the most with home runs and RBIs. 9 home runs, 27 runs batted in. And off-speed pitch for a strike. The Dodgers set up the diamond that sends the middleman on the right side, D. Gordon, out on the grass. Ramirez all alone at shortstop, and one outside of first base and down the line, and the count 0-2. Pedro Alvarez, a very dangerous left-hand batter. The strike 2 pitch on the way. He takes a look, and it's low, ball 1. So Dan Herron knows very well Alvarez, very much of an aggressive hitter. In fact, Clint Hurdle has allowed him to swing 3-0 16 times this year. 1-2 pitch on the way is swung on and fouled away. Clint Hurdle, we mentioned earlier that he was the best looking young player you'd ever want to see. And wouldn't you know, in his first major league at bat, he hit a home run. He was 20 years old, and people in Kansas City called him Mr. Wonderful. 1-2 pitch on the way, fouled away. Clint, at that very age, was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. One big difference, and Clint's the first one to tell you about it, he partied like a rock star. And although he never made the cover. He never did reach the potential that everybody thought he had. 1-2 pitch is whacked to right field. No potential. That's a positive. And just like that, the game is tied 1-1. Alvarez hitting his 10th home run. And he is one solid hitter. So the home run by Alvarez. We have a 1-1 tie in the second inning.
Left fielder number 6.
For Dan Herron, who is always around the plate. That's the 7th home run that he has allowed. So Alvarez gets the team even, and the batter now is Starling Marte. Take another look. Alvarez just went down to get it, and big and strong, and powered it out. Back wall of the bullpen in right field. Now the batter Starling Marte swings, doesn't get it. So Pedro puts the helmet away for the moment as he hits his 10th home run. Of course, he had 36 last year to lead the league. 0-1 the count. Foul ball to Marte. Marte's come up with a lot of clutch hits when the Pirates are behind. Some way or another, he'll come up with a hit to keep an inning alive. This month, he's had 14 runs batted in. Strike 2 pitch on the way, and that's reached for and banged into right field. Nice bit of hitting. Puig is up with it. Marte holds at first base. So a 2-out home run followed by a single to right. Good bit of hitting by Marte to go out and get it and go the other way. So the batter now is Clint Barmes. Barmes, you may remember, had quite a career at Colorado. In fact, he served under Clint Hurdle. And when Clint went to Pittsburgh, Barmes right behind him. First pitch to Clint, high, ball 1, 1-0. There's the old story about Clint Barmes. He was really catching everybody's attention in Colorado. And Todd Helton went hunting and brought home a lot of deer meat. Here's the 1-0 pitch on the way, and Herron backs off the rubber. Well, anyway, Barmes carried the deer meat, and a pretty good amount of it, stumbled, fell, and broke his collarbone. And that just slowed up his career. 1-0 pitch. There goes Marte, and that's sliced down the right field line, but going foul. And the count, 1 ball, 1 strike. Barmes again taking a long look at Nick Leyva, coaching at third. Rick Sofield over at first. The Pirates have the worst road record in the league. They are 7-16 and trying to get healthy here. 1-1 pitch is a shot up the middle by Herron beyond the diving Gordon, and all the way to third goes Marte. So the Bucks aren't finished. Maybe the Bucks stop here, but with 2 out, Alvarez homered, Marte singled, Barmes singled, so they haven't stopped. Ball just went by the legs of Herron and under the glove of a diving Gordon. First and third, and Garrett Cole coming up. So the bottom of the lineup is giving Dan Herron a bad time. Cole, his numbers tell you he's a good hitter, batting .263, 5 for 19. So it means you have 2 pretty good hitting pitchers in Herron and Cole. Dan ready, and the first pitch in for a strike. What Herron is doing is making bad pitches on great counts. Neil Walker in the first inning singled on an 0-2 pitch. Alvarez hit the home run on a 1-ball, 2-strike count. Marte singled 0-2, and Barmes singled on a 1-ball, 1-strike count. So Dan has made the setup, the preliminary pitches, and he hasn't cashed them in. Now Herron straightens up off the bag. Barmes, Marte at third, and Cole fouls it away. 1-2 the count to Garrett Cole in a 1-1 tie. Interesting, and you got Cole's attention immediately when you read it. His first 2 major league victories were against former Cy Young winners. He beat Tim Lincecum of the Giants and Zach Greinke. Runs 2-2 to Garrett Cole. Aaron has made 36 pitches, but 23 of them here in the second inning. 2-2 pitch on the way. Ground ball right to Gonzalez, and that's it. With 2 out, the Bucks get 4 hits. The big blow, the home run by Pedro Alvarez. And we're heading for the bottom of the second in a 1-1 tie. A reminder, Josh Beckett's no-hitter last Sunday, the 11th in L.A. Dodger history, and you can join the Dodgers. They'll celebrate the achievement with an $11 ticket offer for tomorrow's game when Josh takes the mound against Pittsburgh. Don't forget, after the game, Friday night fireworks presented by Dane. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/no-hitter. The pitching matchups, by the way, for tomorrow night, very interesting. Not just the matchups, but the catcher who will be in the game. And the first pitch to Justin Turner is banged into right field. A diving trap by McCutchen. Justin is aboard with a single. You'll be hearing a lot about it, reading about it, I'm sure. One reason why Tim Fedorovich is coming up and catching tonight is who will be the catcher tomorrow for Josh Beckett, with Francisco Liriano on the mound for Pittsburgh. You probably remember the story, but if you don't, Drew Butera was a teammate of Liriano in Minnesota, and it was Butera who caught Liriano's no-hitter. And it was Butera who caught Josh Beckett's no-hitter. So a reasonable person would say, all right, let's have Butera catch for both sides. That'd be fair. No way. Anyway, Turner at first, and Fedorovich shows bunt, drops it nicely. Cole looks at second, no play there. So a sacrifice by FedEx, moving Turner to second. And as we mentioned, you have two good hitting pitchers. You wonder why the eighth hitter is bunting. Well, Dan Aaron swings the bat very, very well. Aaron perhaps off with only 3 hits this year, but he still commands respect every time he comes to the plate. Because when he went to Pepperdine, he really went there as a hitter. The pitching came about because of a shortage, and they asked him to try it. So Dan waiting. Here comes Cole's fastball in for a strike. He hits 96. No balls and 1 strike to Dan Haren. 1-1 tie, bottom of the 2nd inning. Home run by Alvarez, a triple by Ethier, and Puig's double got him in. Haren takes a shot and misses foul outside of first base. And the count 0-2. The picture appeared in the Newark Star Ledger back in 2001. It was a photo of an 11-year-old at the World Series holding a sign that read, "Yankee fan, today, tomorrow, forever." Here's the strike 2 pitch, very high, ball 1. That 11-year-old holding that sign was Garrett Cole. He did it only because his dad was such a rabid Yankee fan. That's why he was there. That was the series against Arizona. 1-2 pitch on the way off the plate. 2 balls and 2 strikes the count to Dan Haren. Waiting on deck, D. Gordon. 1 run, 4 hits for Pittsburgh. 1 run, 3 hits for the Dodgers. Garrett Cole set at the belt. A look back at Turner. Now to the plate. Swung on and missed. And that'll take care of Haren. So Cole throws so hard, picks up his first strikeout. And the batter will be D. Gordon. Looking at all the numbers attached to this game. 1 run, 4 hits. 1 run, 3 hits. Pitch count. Remind me to tell you about number 64. Don't let me forget 64. Turner at second base. 2 down, 2nd inning in a 1-1 tie. Cole ready, right-handed delivers, fastball fouled away. That fastball at 97. Haven't seen anybody pull that kind of a pitch. 0-1. Justin Turner led off with a solid single. Fedorovich sacrificed. Haren strikes out. And Gordon now trying to pick him up. Strike 1 pitch on the way to D. Turner, good lead at second. And the pitch way inside. 1 ball and 1 strike. Gordon in the leadoff role. Doesn't get many chances to drive in runs. He does have 13, and he has 1 home run. 1 ball and 1 strike. Now Cole delivers, fastball inside. Boy, that almost burned the varnish off the bat. 2-1 the count. Gordon pulled that bat back. That thing almost ate him up as he showed bunt. 2 balls and 1 strike to count. Cole challenging him with 97-mile-an-hour fastballs. 2-1 pitch. Another fastball, but missed inside. That was 97. Well, when you can throw hard, you want to throw hard, and you like to throw hard. Waiting on deck, Andre Ethier. 3-1 pitch to D. Gordon. Cole slows down the pace, straddles the rubber. No timeout for the moment. Garrett ready, and the 3-1 pitch is a high strike around the letters. 3-2 the count to Gordon. He doesn't argue, said something to Chris Gaccione, but it was not a complaint. He was ready to throw the bat away and go to first. Three and two the count. Cole a long look in, and time at the plate. Watching Gordon not complain, say a couple of words to Guccione. I would be flabbergasted if Gordon got into some nose-to-nose confrontation. He's just not that kind of a kid. 3-2. And a shot up the middle, a diving try, but missed by Barmes. And scoring is Turner to give the Dodgers a 2-1 lead. D. Gordon does it again. So Gordon fighting off all those 97-mile-an-hour fastballs and got one that he could handle. Barmes tried to keep it on the infield, but the ball just avoided his glove. Well, Gordon, a single to center, brings home Turner, and the Dodgers take a 2-1 lead here in the second inning. Now, of course, we'll see about Gordon trying to steal, and we'll see about Ethier with 2 out, whether he'll be able to take a pitch and see if Gordon would try his luck. Remember, D has stolen 30 out of 33. Cole has been, let's put it this way, he has a reputation of being easy to steal. The league has stolen 12, and he's caught 1. So they're going to try to run Gordon as soon as they possibly can. 2-1 Dodgers, second inning. Gordon just waiting for an opening. There he goes. The pitch is a strike. The throw is on a bounce and way too late. So Russell Martin did not make his usual great throw. Gordon does what everybody in the park expected to see. Martin handled it well, but then threw it. He was going to his left, and Barmes was the cover man, but D was on the bag and holding on for dear life. So Gordon, 31 stolen bases, and the league now is 13 out of 14 in stealing against Garrett Cole. That was a pretty easy play to foretell. Here's the strike one pitch on the way instead of fake by Cole. In the big leagues, to be a successful pitcher or to be a successful anything, you've got to be able to do everything. And so Cole has a great arm, great stuff, but they'll beat you if you have a wide open glare as far as holding runners on. Garrett ready, and the strike one pitch on the way. Here comes a pitch to Ethier, slider for a strike, and the count 0-1. Cole now made 17 pitches in the first inning, and he's made 16 so far here in the second. 0-2 to Andre Ethier. Cole very deliberate, worrying about Gordon, and Ethier slaps it foul off to the left out of play. 0-2. Andre hit one into the right field corner for a triple, and then Puig lifted a fly ball into shallow right field between the hard-running Walker going out and the hard-running Harrison coming in. No balls, 2 strikes. There goes Gordon. The pitch is low in the dirt, and Gordon has stolen third. So as we say, if your flaw is commonly known in the big leagues, they will make you sink or swim on that one flaw. So Gordon got a good jump, and then of course got a great pitch. It was in the dirt, and Martin had no shot. So Gee now has stolen 32 out of 35, and a 1-ball, 2-strike count to Andre Ethier. Cole set, right-hander ready, and an off-speed pitch, a little breaking ball at 86, and Ethier was way out in front of it. Quite an inning for Gordon to drive in a run, steal a couple. At the end of 2-1 Dodgers. single, and then the magic of D. Gordon's bat and feet. D, by the way, stealing 2, and that gives Herron a 2-1 lead. For D. Gordon, by the way, with 2 stolen bases tonight to give him 32, that would tie his career high. The only difference is with 32 stolen bases, he's done it really in 55 games. His career high of 32 was done after about 87 games. So he is way ahead of the pace. Meanwhile, Josh Harrison flied to right field in the first inning and takes one off the plate. 2 balls and no strikes the count. The Giants went ahead with 3 in the top of the 8th, trailing the Cardinals. They've turned that around, and the Giants are leading 6-4, bottom of the 8th inning. Michael Morse had a tie-breaking double, and Morse now has 37 runs batted in for the Giants. Ground ball to the right side. Gordon is up with it and throws him out. So 1 down, and the batter is Neil Walker.
Second baseman, number 18, Neil Walker.
Neil Walker singled to right field in the first inning, and then was thrown out trying to steal by Tim Fedorovich. Walker now has a 10-game hitting streak, playing in all 53 games, and during the streak, red hot, batting .378. Herron ready, and the first pitch in for a strike, and the count 0-1. Okay, I remember. You know, we were talking about number 64. 0-1 the count. Herron ready and delivers, in the pitch inside. 1 ball, 1 strike. Clint Hurdle, the manager of the Bucks, back in 2007, was the manager of the Colorado Rockies. Here's the 1-1 pitch coming up, and that's taken inside, ball 2, 2-1. Clint's young daughter, Madison, they call her Maddie, has really not been given 100% health. She has been ill on and off for a long time. 2-1 pitch is a hopper right to where Gordon is placed, and we have 2 down. Well, anyway, she was hospitalized quite often, and of course, being a good father, loving his daughter, he spent a lot of time visiting her in the hospital. And Clint's a big-hearted guy anyway, and he would not only visit his daughter, he would then go and spend time with a lot of the children in the hospital. And the batter is Andrew McCutchen. And one day while Clint was in the hospital, they said, there's a kid you really ought to meet. Pitch to McCutchen, missing for ball 1. So Clint said, sure, who is it? They said, come over here. He's terminal. He's 15 years old, and his name is Kyle. Herron looks in, McCutchen waiting, and the 1-0 pitch to Andrew is swung on and missed. 1 ball, 1 strike. So Clint Hurdle met Kyle, and believe it or not, Kyle was wishing that the Rockies would do well, and he said to Clint Hurdle, maybe I can give you a little magic. Now here's a kid dying, 15 years old, and he's telling a big league manager he's going to help him. And Hurdle said, well, Kyle, what's the magic? And Kyle said, when I played football. 2-1 pitch, a ground ball to short. Nice play there by Hanley for the retirement of 3 in the 3rd. So we'll tell you about the number 64 and young Kyle and his jersey and Clint Hurdle when we come back. It's 2-1 Dodgers. With Puig, Ramirez, and Gonzalez coming up. Hello, sunshine. Aren't we happy to have you here? All of big, wide open eyes and your pink cap. You are very welcome, my dear. Anyway, Clint Hurdle in number 64. So the youngster said, my jersey when I played football was 64. I'm giving you that number. Just do something with it. And Clint said, okay, Kyle, I'll remember. And he went to the ballpark. And when he was writing out the lineup card before the game, he remembered number 64. So at the top of the lineup card, he just wrote the number 64. Well, the number didn't seem to help. It was the 9th inning. They were down by 4 runs against the Washington Nationals. And don't you know the Rockies pulled off an improbable rally and turned the game around and won it 6-5. Here's the first pitch to Puig, and then misses ball 1. Yasiel pop fly double in the first inning to pick up a run batted in. Been on base one way or another now 30 straight, and he's done very well, 4 for 4 against Garrett Cole. So every day on the lineup, Clint would write 64, and every day suddenly Colorado was improving. And right on through until he finally got him into the postseason against the Cubs. So he wrote 64 on the lineup card for every game. Darned if they didn't sweep the Cubs. 2 balls and no strikes to Puig. He takes a strike, 2-1. Now they had to play the Arizona Diamondbacks. Well, Clint is not about to stop what's become a very good deal, and he wrote 64 on every lineup card in 2007 in the League Championship Series against Colorado. Puig, ground ball gobbled up by Pedro Alvarez to throw him out. 1 down. And sure enough, writing the magical 64, they defeated the Arizona Diamondbacks in the National League Championship Series. Well, they didn't have a chance to really use the magical 64 anymore because Kyle passed away. And as Kyle left, so did the number 64. Oh, he was still writing it on the scoreboard on the lineup card. But once Kyle left, the number lost the magic. Clint Hurdle and the number 64. Hanley Ramirez fouled out in the first inning. 0-1 to count to Hanley, who's looking for any magic number to get well. Struggling at 244. Hanley trying to plant that back foot. Cole watching him, and now they hook up. 1-0 pitch on the way. Ground ball to the hole. Long throw at short, and it's made by Barmes. So Ramirez taps to short. He's 0 for 2, and the batter will be Adrian Gonzalez, who walked in the first inning. Dodgers lead 2-1, bottom of the third. Dodgers 2 runs, 4 hits, and the Pirates 1 run, 4 hits. The scoring quickly. The Dodgers had a first inning triple from Ethier, who scored on a pop fly double by Puig. Pedro Alvarez homered in the second inning to tie it up. D. Gordon singled to drive in Justin Turner, who had singled after a FedEx bunt, and the Dodgers took the 2-1 lead. 1 ball, no strikes to Adrian, and that's in there. 1-1. The Pirates use the same defense, the diamond defense. They send Walker a good 20 feet out into shallow right field. Adrian has seen that a lot. 1-1 pitch on the way is uppercutted, popped up, going back on it, still going back is Barmes, and makes the catch in front of his center fielder. So the Dodgers go 1-2-3, and at the end of 3, Dodgers 2, Pirates 1. Honda. Start something special with a great deal on a Honda. Now at your Honda dealer. We go to the fourth inning. It's 2-1 in favor of the Dodgers. Evening has slowly tiptoed across and brought the sun out of the players' eyes. The lights have been on since the game started, but at this time of year and all summer, the lights really don't take much effect till about this time. And this time would be about 10 minutes after 8. So Ike Davis, fly to center in the second inning, will lead it off. Then Russell Martin and Pedro Alvarez. So Herron leading for the second time and misses for ball one. 1-0. A shot off the glove of Herron. Gordon trying to catch up. Bare hands, throws. Too late. So Gordon tried to make a spectacular play and couldn't quite do it. But boy, that was a great effort. So Ike Davis gets a base hit, and Hanley Ramirez, who was out of the play, comes over to shake Gordon's hand. That was a great effort. D charging, bare hand, and the left-hand hitter beats the play. Right-hander doesn't get there. The Gordon, great effort, but to no avail. The tying run is aboard, and the batter is Russell Martin. So again, Herron got his glove on the ball, deflected it, and that made it a sure base hit. Russell Martin tapped to third, 0 for 1. Russell hitting .250. Won his first Gold Glove back in 2007, which would be his second year with the Dodgers. Russell takes on the count 1-1. Martin from East York in Ontario, Canada, 5'11", 215. 31 years old, trying to move Davis around. Good breaking ball. 1-2 the count to Martin. Full name Russell Nathan Coltrane Jeanson Martin. Nathan for his great-grandfather. Jeanson, his mom's maiden name. Coltrane, if you know music, in homage to John Coltrane, a jazz saxophonist extraordinaire. Russell Martin's father also picked up the instrument and has played jazz for years in Montreal. 2-2 pitch is a shot, leaping catch by Gordon, double play with a throw to first. Boy, the kid has really matured offensively and defensively. Line drive, and Gordon takes a base hit away and converts it into a double play. And he really had to go up and get it, and Davis tried to get back, but he was late. Boy, what a play. Worth a look from very many angles. And then Gordon, no sooner did his feet touch the ground, he had that throw going. So the inning belongs to D. He is such a nice kid. The first pitch missing, ball one to Pedro Alvarez. Gordon so soft-spoken, so deferential to anybody around, and he has become a player. 2-0 the count now to Alvarez, who homered with 2 out in the second inning. And a strike, 2-1. Tried to hold up, couldn't do it. We mentioned they have let him swing on a 3-0 count 16 times. So he's a very strong, very aggressive home run hitter. And Clint will let him rip 3-0 and 2-1. And 2-2. And that's the inning, thanks to D. Gordon. Gordon, who couldn't quite make the play on Davis, doubled the pleasure with a leaping catch on Martin and doubled Davis at first. And it's 2-1 Dodgers, bottom of the fourth. Sure to bring friends and family to Dodger Stadium Saturday for baseball and a movie. The second date in the Dodger Stadium movie series features the film A League of Their Own, and the movie will begin after the game with the Pirates. For more information and tickets, visit Dodgers.com/movies. Dan Herron bailed out by D. Gordon. Gordon just quietly going over and sitting down. No fuss, no excitement. Almost acts sometimes like he's done something wrong. Talking to Sean Figgins, a veteran and certainly a very good man to talk to. Meanwhile, bottom of the fourth inning, Kemp, Turner, and Fedorovich in that order. And a strike. Matt hit into a force play in the first inning. Hit the ball hard, but it was a nice pick by Pedro Alvarez at third. This time he hits one right at the second baseman on the shortstop side. So Matt's hit the ball pretty hard, but he's 0 for 2.
Over the Dodgers, third baseman, number 10.
So one out and Justin Turner coming up. Matt with a big grin. It's one of those things. I know I haven't gotten a hit, but darn it, I've hit 2 balls right on the button. So one away, and here's Turner, who singled in the second inning and eventually came around to score the go-ahead run. Garrett Cole looks in for the sign, and here we go. Strike. Two runs, 4 hits for the Dodgers. 1 run, 5 hits for the Pirates. 1-1. Garrett Cole has done well following a loss. He's come right back to win. It's following a Pirate loss, not his. He's had 3 losses saved by the bullpen. And he has been very much of a ground ball pitcher. Almost 2-1 ground balls to fly balls. That's a strike. So Turner caught looking. Down he goes. 2 out in the 4th inning, and the batter now, Tim Federovic. 6 in a row retired by Garrett Cole following that big base hit by Dee Gordon. Do you know who George Springer is? Well, he's the young slugger with the Houston Astros. He homered again tonight, so it means he's homered 6 of the last 7 games. Chopper to Walker, and that will be that. So for George Springer, he now has 7 home runs in 7 games. Hello, darling. It's 2-1 Dodgers. Huge devil. As we go to the 5th inning, it'll be Starling Marte, then Clint Barmes, and the pitcher, Garrett Cole. Dan Herron gave up some hits when he was very much ahead in the count. Put it all together, he still only allowed 1 run, the home run by Pedro Alvarez on a 1-2 count. So here come the Bucks, Marte, Barmes, and Cole. Starlin Marte, you can just imagine if he has a couple of good years, it'd be Darlin Starlin. Hitting .258, 4 home runs, 17 runs batted in. Marte from Santo Domingo. And ball 1. Marte 6'2", 180. He'll be 26. His father played a lot of baseball, third base for local amateur teams in Santo Domingo, and he started out as a shortstop. And as he said, I was only about 8, 9 years old, and I would hear people say, see that kid? He's going to be a special player. Well, he's a big leaguer, that's for sure. Starling Marte, one of those privileged players, pops this one up, and it will be Gordon. Marte hit a home run in the first pitch he faced in his major league career.
Batting next is shortstop number 12, Clint Barmes.
But this time pops it up. Barmes singled to center in the second inning on a 1-ball, 1-strike count, so that was a balanced count for Herron. Strike. The Giants just refused to lose. Sergio Romo came in to close down the ninth inning. Giants led 6-4. He gave up a run and ended the game with Cardinals at first and third in the ninth. Giants win it 6-5. Giants now are 35-19. Giants at home began the day 19-9 and on the road 15-10. So they have been excellent both ways. You have some contrasters here. That's going to be a base hit to left field for Clint Barmes. So he's 2 for 2. But if you look at these two teams, they are exactly opposite when you look at home and road. The A's are 7-16 as far as A being for away. The Dodgers on the road are 18-11. Then if you match them up at home, Pirates are 16-13, and the Dodgers are under 500 at home, despite Greinke and Kershaw et al. The bunt in the air, foul, 0-1 the count. Garrett Cole, hard ground ball out to Adrian Gonzalez in the second inning. See whether they would ask him to bunt again. Josh Harrison on deck. Cole has one sacrifice. Shows bunt. And got it down. Aaron makes the play to Gordon. However, that's the second out. They stay out of the double play. They keep the inning alive. They get the tying run at second base. And Josh Harrison coming up. Harrison flied to right, grounded to second, so he has gone the other way twice against Dan Herron. Josh from Cincinnati. He went to the University of Cincinnati. We told you his uncle is John Shelby, who played and coached here for many years. He was everybody's favorite. 1 ball and no strikes to Josh. 5'8", about 190. Nice block by Fedorovich. 2 balls and no strikes the count. July a few years ago, the Pirates sent John Graybo, John Gosselani to the Cubs, and that's how they acquired Harrison. And that's driven to the gap. Puig is going to have to play it on a bounce, but the runner coming from second base just did get the jump and scores on a strong throw. Now the question is before Puig. By doing that, not allowing an infielder to cut it off, you didn't have much of a chance to get Barmes. They're not going to blame him for trying to get Barmes, but what you then do really is make sure the cutoff man makes the decision whether you have a chance or not. But by Puig's throw, he airmailed it. No one could cut it off. You see Gonzalez trying. So when the run scores, he now allows a tiebreaker taking second base on that airmail throw. So baseball 101 to Yasiel Puig. Neil Walker has singled and grounded out. 2-2 tie. And we're in the 5th inning. One ball and one strike. Interesting, too, in contrasting the two teams. If you compare the Pirates starters and relievers, The starters are 7-22, but the relievers have bailed them out. They are 16-7. And you say, well, what about the Dodgers? Well, the Dodgers starters are 25-13, but in the Dodger bullpen, the pen is 4-12. Big difference. Almost hit him. Walker refusing to give. 2-1 to count. Two balls, one strike. Foul back. Neil Walker, a veteran, 29 years old come September. Born in Pittsburgh, grew up in Gibsonia, and he makes his home there now. Apparently a superb athlete. Quarterback on the high school football team. He was a high school All-American. One of the best wide receivers in Pennsylvania high school football. He was a punt returner. He did it all. Still 2-2. Walker's high school, Pine Richland. They retired his uniform number 24. 2-2 to Neal. And ball 3. So the deuces were wild. That pitch came on a 2-ball, 2-strike count with 2 out, a runner at second in a 2-2 tie. And McCutchen waits now. 3-2 to Neil Walker. So Walker strikes out. They leave Harrison at second, but they score Barmes. And at the end of 4.5 innings, a 2-2 tie. Beyond the dugout into the Dodger clubhouse. Join host Alana Rizzo as she goes one-on-one with Don Mattingly to get the inside scoop from the Diamond. Be sure, don't miss Dodger Clubhouse Monday at 5 on Sportsnet LA. Through his 4 innings, Garrett Cole has made 51 pitches. Through his 4, Aaron had made 60. The last 2 innings have really been a breeze. Fastball strike. In the 3rd inning, Cole made 9 pitches, and then in the 4th inning, he made only 6. Aaron struck out in his 1 at bat. and he's on the edge of another, and he's just getting heat. Cole's strikeout to walk ratio about 3-1. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Continue to compare the two teams, and they have one thing where they really have in common, and that's with the bases loaded. And neither manager will have much to say about it. A chopper, Cole will just wait for Herron, and 1 away. Dodgers and Pirates with the bases loaded this year. The Pirates are 6 for 43 with the bases loaded. That's a 140 batting average. The Dodgers with the bases loaded are 4 for 36. That's a 111 batting average. So it's something they share, but it's like sharing a bad cold. Doesn't give any pleasure to anybody connected. And Gordon lays down the bunt. Russell Martin fires, just got him. What that was a big league play by a veteran big league catcher. Well, Gordon so near and yet so far. It's Martin's time to shine. Tough play. What's always amazing, you see them make a full turn, and yet they find whatever, first base, second base. They're right on the money. But Gordon lays down a very good bunt and a very, very good play beating. 2 down, and Andre Ethier. Gordon getting 5. That was a great bunt. Ethier tripled, struck out, hits one down to short. Barmes is on it, and that's that. Well, how many pitches in that inning? 7 pitches. So it's been 9 pitches, 6 pitches, 7 pitches in the last 3 innings in a 2-2 tie. Bobby Wells pitched an imperfect, perfect game. What do I mean by that? He faced the minimum of 27 batters. He did give up a base hit to Harvell Blanks. However, the Dodgers then came up with a double play, and that was it. 27 batters, and Bobby won the game 3-0. With that, let's go back to this one. Andrew McCutchen will start it off 2-2 in the 6th inning. 0-1 to Andrew. McCutchen, an MVP, a remarkably gifted young athlete and a very cool, calm customer in the pressure slot. 0-2. McCutchen is valued so highly, he signed a contract. They added a 6-year extension. And cuffed foul down the line. If you ask McCutchen, what's your biggest thrill in baseball? He said it had to do with the post game, but not about the game. I said, well, what was it? He said, my mom sang the national anthem. One and two the count to McCutchen. So Dan Herron has allowed 2 runs, 7 hits, no walks. You know Dan, he's on the strike all the time. 2-2. Herron has 2 strikeouts. McCutchen has flied to right, grounded to short, 0 for 2. Off the plate again. Andrew's father, Lorenzo, is a youth minister at a non-denominational church. Andrew sings in the choir and hits one down to third, and Justin Turner gets it over to Gonzalez. 1 out in the 6th, and Ike Davis will be coming up. Dodgers in the bottom of the 6th. Puig, Ramirez, and Gonzalez. Boy, Garrett Cole, tough to beat. A 9-pitch 3rd inning, a 6-pitch 4th inning, and a 7-pitch 5th inning. 22 pitches in 3 innings. Ike Davis flied to center and single, and Cole sitting back, I'm sure, thinking I pitched well enough to win, but I'm tired. Big slider inside, 1 ball and 1 strike. Ball 2. Hit in the air down the left field line, foul, and back into the crowd. 2-2. Just missed trying to sharpshoot that inside corner. 3-2. Chopper right to Gordon. 2 down. Russell Martin had made that wonderful play on Gordon's bunt in the 5th inning. Coming up. Russell grounded to third, and then for good measure hit that line drive, and Gordon climbed the ladder to spear it and turned a base hit into a double play. Breaking ball, 0-1. You always wonder, you're always teaching little kids, if you want to throw the ball from you to somebody else, never take your eye off the target. Now, on the mound for the Dodgers, you have as good a control pitcher as in the game, and he always looks away like that. And he does it on every pitch. Probably been doing it ever since he first started to throw a baseball. Over there. No, over there. And over there. That is going to go into the pavilion. And the Pirates are out in front 3-2. Dan Haren cannot overpower a hitter. He has to be right on the money. Well, that would be the 7th home run that Dan has allowed. And it's 3-2 Pittsburgh. Dan looked away, looked in, and then hung a breaking ball. And Russell Martin hit it out. And Dan knew right away. You watch his reaction. Ball had plenty and halfway up. So Russell Martin getting 5s all around. Ground ball to Gordon. That should be the 3rd out. But Martin's 3rd home run of the year gives the Bucks a lead. And at the end of 5½, 3-2 Pittsburgh. Had night Tuesday. Dodgers and White Sox at 7:10. The first 50,000 fans in attendance take home a mini Hello Kitty bobblehead for their collection. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotion. Dan Haren pitching a very tough ball game, sitting alongside Tim Fedorovich, talking to pitching coach Rick Honeycutt. For Dan, his last few games have been very tough. He came out of his last game against Philadelphia down 5-3. The game before against Arizona, he came out down 5-3. So now here's his 3rd game, and he's down 3-2, and the Dodgers trying to wake up the offense with Puig, Ramirez, and Gonzalez. Yasiel Puig, top fly double to right, rounded to 3rd. He's reached base safely now in 30 straight games. Ready to go against young Garrett Cole. Slow. Big changeup at 81. Fastball. Not that much on it at 87. As we said, his 4-seamer. You can get that thing up to 100. Dodger bullpen. Chris Perez begins to loosen up. 1 ball, 1 strike. Fastball, pop foul. Should go out of play and does. and then comes back out of the field. Remember when Yasiel, at the start of the year, he was hitting in the number 2 slot. And Don Mattingly made an observation saying he's hitting in the 2 slot, but it's not going to be long before he's the number 3 hitter. And of course, the number 3 hitter is the star on every team. Well, Yasiel is the number 3 hitter. Fastball away. 2-2. We were talking about Dan Herron pitching so well and then giving up the 2-out home run in the 6th inning to break the tie. More on that in a moment. Just off the plate at 97. In Herron's first 7 starts this year, he allowed 2 home runs. In his last 4 starts, and that includes tonight, 6 home runs. Most recently tonight by Russell Martin. 3-2. Fastball sliced to right center. That one heading for the wall. Short hops the wall. Yasiel into second base, standing ahead of the throw by McCutcheon. So the tying run is out there. Long double, nobody out. That fastball was 97 miles an hour, and I mean, he was all over it. Take a look. 97, and he short hops the wall in deep right center. Throws the bat high. I mean, he gets big notes for that. But the ball didn't go out. Maybe he thought it would. It hit the very base of the wall. A round of applause from his teammate, D. Gordon. But boy, that was a pretty high flip. Could we see that again? I mean, if you want to really learn how to flip the bat, I mean, here's the maestro. Let's see if we can backtrack without losing a pitch. Yeah, watch this bat. Oh, yeah. There you go. He thought that was a home run, but that was definitely a home run flip. Since it's a double, it should have been a half a flip. 1 ball and no strikes. Hanley fouled out, grounded out. Hitting a very tepid 247. Fastball jammed him. 1-1. Down in the Dodger bullpen, we told you Chris Perez warming up. Brandon Lee also got up and stopped throwing. One ball, one strike. Ball 2, 2-1. So Herron now, he went the required 5, and like any pitcher who ever played the game, he knows he could suffer the loss. He could get even if the Dodgers tie, and could even win it if the Dodgers go ahead in the inning. And line drive base hit. No play for Harrison on Puig. So a single to right by Hanley Ramirez ties up the game. Take another look. Hanley driving it the other way. A big leg kick. So 3 runs, 8 hits for the Pirates. 3 runs, 6 hits for the Dodgers. Yasiel does his job. Knocked in 1, scores 1, and he's 2 for 3. Adrian Gonzalez walked and popped up. And a fly ball to right is playable. Harrison is right there. So 1 out, and Matt Kemp coming up. Garrett Cole in the first 3 innings, according to the scouting report on him, is very tough. ERA 2.40. From 4 innings on, his earned run average is almost 5. Of course, you have to remember, here's a guy throwing the ball 100 miles an hour, and as big and strong as he is, he tires. One other note as Puig now brings a tying run home. From the 4th through the 6th inning. And we have now gotten into the 6th. 4th through the 6th. Cole's earned run average is almost 6. There goes Ramirez. The throw on a bounce is late. The pitch at the plate was a strike. So they're not running on Martin. Remember, we told you that, how vulnerable Cole is. And we've seen Gordon steal 2. Now we see Ramirez steal 1. 3 stolen bases. So the record now against Garrett Cole, 15 stolen bases and 1 caught. So they are running wild against young Cole. And of course, D. Gordon had 2 stolen bases in the 2nd inning. Slider, nice block by Russell Martin. 1 ball and 1 strike. Nelson Liriano tomorrow night. Liriano will be looking for his first win. He's 0-5. And he has really been spending a lot of pitches. He's walked 28, struck out 58. 1-1 to Matt. Fastball, little nubber back to the box. 2nd out at first. Taking 3rd is Ramirez.
Third baseman, number 10, Justin Turner.
So Dan Herron at least knows he can't lose. But he's got a runner at 3rd who could even give him a victory. So this is a big at-bat for Justin Turner. So Puig doubled. Ramirez singled him in. Hanley now at 3rd with 2 out. Turner followed by Fedorovich. And a strike. You know, we've always talked about a pitcher and his worst enemy, which is the foul ball. It's a good indication of whether the hitters are not seeing that 100% great stuff. If they do get it, then they're not able to swing and miss. They just keep fouling it off. And it's a good insight on the pitcher. Well, tonight, despite the fact he can hit 100 on the gun, there's been only 2 swings and misses against Garrett Cole. And that's caught up to him. Despite the fact he's only made 75 pitches. Remember those 3 innings. 9 pitches in the 3rd, 6 pitches in the 4th, 7 pitches in the 5th. 17 pitches so far here in the 6th inning. So he's laboring for the first time since the 1st inning. Check swing for a strike. There was one other point that we mentioned about Garrett Cole, and certainly bears watching. He has 5 wild pitches. So with Hanley Ramirez at 3rd, the Dodgers trying to be ready. And ball 3. You had the feeling that they would pitch around Turner. Tim Fedorovich on deck. Be awfully early in the game to pinch hit for your catcher. Fouled away. Turner singled to center, scored a run, and struck out. Meanwhile, Yasiel peeking in. He's been busy. Talking to Adrian Gonzalez. Chopper to third. The play goes to first by Alvarez, and that's the inning. So for Dan Herron, he at least is off the hook. Hanley Ramirez singled in the tying run. And at the end of 6, a 3-3 tie. On a lovely summer's evening, we move to the 7th inning in a 3-3 tie. Dan Herron, after making 97 pitches, gives way, and Brandon League will pick up for him. It'll be Marte, Barmes, and Cole in the 3-3 tie. For Brandon League, he has done a good job for the Dodgers despite a slow start. And all you have to do is look at that ERA and find out what kind of a job. Coming into the game, Brandon's ERA is 1.3. He's in his 21st game, and he'll face Starling Marte, who singled to right and popped up. Marte 1 for 2. Oh, and 1. Marte, coming into this year, had a career batting average of .275. Played left field last year and did very, very well defensively. A one-hopper. Oh, what a circus stop by Ramirez. Throws it in the dirt. Falling down on a way to round back, and getting back is Marte. So Hanley Ramirez first makes a fine play, a hurried, poor throw, and Marte looking over. They're both from the Dominican. You can bet they know each other very well. Hanley a full turn, and then the hurried throw on a bounce. One thing, you know, I've always felt that Hanley Ramirez takes a long time to get the ball out of the glove, because I feel and think he's looking for the seams to get a good grip to make the throw. That ball had him spinning and turning. He didn't have much time. Take another look. Going one way, he had the backhand, then spin around on his fanny. Now grab in and make the throw. And there goes Marte. Fedorovic's throw is late. So Starling Marte on the error by Ramirez throw, and now he promptly steals second base. Gordon thought he had him by the hand. It's awfully close if you look at that. Left hand, wow. The left hand was blocked going to the bag. So the Dodgers are going to check that. From up here, it looked like, yeah, I'd thumbs up that play too. It looked like the slider slid with his left hand right into the glove of D. Gordon. This one is worth reviewing, without a doubt. There's that left hand, and you see the glove comes right down. Was it between the hand and the bag? That will be the question. Yeah, looks like we got him. But again, we pay tribute to the umpires. With all the equipment we have, he's going to have to look down, and was the glove between the hand and the bag? He feels no, but it looked the other way around. That's Eric Cooper, the second base umpire. Yeah, that was a definite play to review. Each time they show it, the crowd is hollering out, but the umpires are waiting for the call from New York. How did they see it? No matter how you look at it, it's going to get down to the glove, the bag, and the left hand. There it is right there. That's the key. That's the play that should win it for Don Mattingly. I'll be surprised if they stay with the call. But I've been surprised before. Out. Well, it was a good throw. It was a great tag. Why they're all going in hands first is because the hand is so tough to tag while you're catching the ball. But Gordon was able to get that glove between Marte's hand and the bag. Another fine play by D. Gordon. So one out in a 3-3 tie. Here's Barmes. Took a little less than 2 minutes for that review. That's a strike. 136. Clint 2 for 2, single to center, single to left. Both base hits were against Dan Haren. Hard ground ball, base hit. So Clint Barmes comes up with a 3-for-3 game. And remember, he came in here hitting all of 213. So Marte might easily have scored on that had the call gone the other way. So with one out, Barmes a base hit, his third. Garrett Cole grounded out and sacrificed. He sacrificed with one out in the fifth inning to get Barmes to second base, and it paid off. Josh Harrison came up leading off and singled to right field to cash in Clint. So based on the past, you think he's going to bunt again. We'll see. Got the bunt down. Adrian's only play is to Gordon. So it worked in the fifth inning, asking him to bunt. It's worked in the seventh inning. Now they're going to test Harrison to see whether it will work again. Josh Harrison singled in the fifth inning for Clint Hurdle to drive in a run. That tied up the game 2-2. We're now tied up 3-3. So Josh 1 for 3. And ball 1. Twice now in the inning, a potential tiebreaker at second base. One didn't stay there very long. And that's going to be off the glove of Gordon. Here comes the throw from Ethier up the line. So not only does the run score, down to second base goes Harrison. Ethier's throw was just not there nearly in time, and Clint Barmes brings in the run.
Number 18, Neil Walker.
Just missed by Gordon. Got the tips of the glove on it. So 4-3 in favor of Pittsburgh. Harrison, his second hit, second run batted in. Clint Barmes 3 for 3, and Adrian did not make, I should say, Andre Ethier didn't make the good throw that perhaps could have been cut off by Adrian Gonzalez. By the way, John Shelby certainly would be proud of his nephew, because Josh Harrison out there at second base with runners in scoring position, he's hitting .389. So a tough player, and for the second time with one out, they have the pitch of bunting, and for the second time, Harrison has delivered. 4-3 Pittsburgh. 2 out, and here's Neil Walker. Ball 1. Walker singled to right, grounded to second, and struck out. 1 for 3. And away, ball 2. So the Dodgers led 1-0, and the Pirates tied it. Dodgers led 2-1, and the Pirates tied it. Paul Maholm, former Pirate, warming up in the Dodger bullpen. Then the game got tied 3-3, and it's been untied again. 2-1. League 95-mile-an-hour fastball up and in. Neil Walker has been a clutch hitter. When the Bucks have been behind in the score, he's had 15 runs batted in, 7 of them in late and close situations. And sure enough, he does it again. So Harrison will score. That makes it 5-3 Pirates. And the top of the order coming up with the big hits, Harrison and Walker. Walker's second hit. So there's 4 hits and 3 runs batted in at the very top of the Pirate lineup. And now their number 1 hitter, McCutchen, coming up. That sinker was out of the strike zone. It was below the knees. But Walker, a left-hand hitter, at least batting left-handed. He's a switch hitter. Just easily went down and got it. So a nice at-bat for Neil Walker. Rick Honeycutt trying to counsel Brandon Lee. Russell Martin congratulating Josh Harrison. Five runs, 11 hits for Pittsburgh. 3 runs, 6 hits for the Dodgers. It has been a splendid game for Dee Gordon. However, making so many good catches, he could not handle that line drive. Just went over his glove into right center off the bat of Clint Barmes. So here's McCutchen. Flied to right, grounded to short, grounded to third. McCutchen, 52 hits against right-hand pitching. In the dirt, ball one. He's also had a very nice month of May. He's had 31 hits this month. One ball and no strikes. He's had a 2-0 count 51 times this year. And he's going to have another 2-0 count. Waiting on deck, another left-hand hitter, Ike Davis. Three and 0 the count. That's another thing about McCutchen. Not only does he get a lot of 2-0 counts, this is the 22nd time this year he's had a 3-0 count. And ball four. Was that low? League hollers at the plate umpire.
First baseman, number 15, Ike Davis.
So Don Mattingly brought in Brandon League, who's been a very much of a pleasant surprise, but not tonight. 3 hits and an error, although he got away with the error, and a walk. And with 2 on and 2 out, and the Dodgers trailing by 2, we'll be right back. Live streaming sports service celebrating 12 years. So join the millions of subscribers. Watch every out-of-market game live in true HD on over 400 devices. Visit Dodgers.com for details. Paul Maholm, who spent 7 years with the Pirates, comes up to try and stop them now while wearing a Dodger uniform. And he will go up against Gabby Sanchez. Gabby Sanchez out of Miami, Florida, went to the University of Miami. At 6'1", he checks in at 225. His family owns batting cages in Tamiami Park, adjacent to the Florida Turnpike. So if he wasn't hitting well, he'd go to the Sluggers batting cages, and he'd be there every day. He grew up, really, as a hitter in the cages. Gabby, being a Miami boy, grew up watching the Marlins and was finally drafted by the Marlins and came up with them back in 2008. And ball one. 1-0 to Gabby Sanchez. Sanchez has a half a dozen pinch hits. He has 3 RBIs as a pinch hitter, so he's been very successful. 1 ball, no strikes. And that's going to go down the left field line for an extra base hit. 1 run is in. They will hold McCutchen on the double by Davis. It gives way to Sanchez and comes up with a big hit. And it is 6-3 now. So a tough ball game has come apart at the seams. Pirates have scored 3 times. Sanchez doubles over the head of Turner, and the beat goes on. The batter now, Russell Martin. So Gabby Sanchez, a very, very successful pinch hitter. Again, we'll repeat some of his numbers. He has 7 pinch hits. He has 4 runs batted in. Coming off the bench cold. In a moment, the bases will be loaded. So Martin will get the intentional pass. And in a moment, Pedro Alvarez coming up. Alvarez came up in the 2nd inning and unloaded. Hit to the back wall of the visiting bullpen. A big home run by Pedro Alvarez, who's accustomed to having big home runs. Alvarez has 10, 16 RBIs. 1 tough hitter. Big slow curveball for a strike. So McCutchen is at 3rd, Sanchez at 2nd, Martin at 1st, and Alvarez with 2 grand slams in his career at the plate. Breaking ball. 1 ball, 1 strike. Remember, the Dodgers had beaten Pittsburgh 9 straight at Dodger Stadium, and during that 9-game losing streak, the Pirates amassed a total of 10 runs. And here they are with a half a dozen by the 7th inning. A 1-hopper, nice stop, down on his side. Gordon makes the play. But 9 men come to the plate, 3 come home, 3 are left, and at the end of 6.5, it is 6-3 Pittsburgh. Head to Jack in the Box and try the new Jack's Blazing Chicken Sandwich. It's Jack's hottest sandwich yet. And by the Ram 1500, Motor Trend's 2014 Truck of the Year and first ever back-to-back champion. The Pirates come up with 3 in the 7th inning, break the tie, take a 6-3 lead. Gabby Sanchez will now take over at first base for Ike Davis after taking over for Ike Davis at the plate. And interesting, if you rely strictly on numbers, Ike Davis did not have a hit against a left-hand pitcher. Gabby Sanchez was hitting .344 against left-hand pitching. So they sent Sanchez to bat, and all he does is come up with a big double. Tim Fedorovich, sacrifice, grounded out, 0 for 1. Chopper to third, playing the hop is Alvarez. 1 away. Paul Maholm will give way. Sean Figgins is going to come up and bat for him. A while ago, we were comparing the bullpens and the starters. And it's pretty obvious what's happened tonight as we see Chris Perez getting ready. Whether Cole needs the pen or not tonight, he seems invigorated by that 3-run burst. And the Pirates lead 6-3. The Dodgers are behind. The Pirates are in front. And you just concentrate on the bullpens for the moment. If the Pirates need the pen to hold on to their lead, their relievers are 16-7. If the Dodgers needed the relievers, and they did, their bullpen is 4-12. And it has come sharply into focus again tonight. Tony Watson, left-hander, begins to throw now in the Pirate bullpen. Fastball finds the mark. Pirates began the day 8 games behind Milwaukee. Dodgers began 5.5 back of the Giants, but the Giants won. Miami and Atlanta, they are tied in the East. Atlanta has now lost 4 in a row. That's a strike. 3-2. Giants, by winning their ball game in St. Louis, are now 16-10 on the road, 19-9 at home. They are one tough club, home and away. That's ball 4. And of course, the Dodgers can't say that at all. On the road, they're okay, 18-11, but here at Dodger Stadium, they're 11-14. Despite the presence of people like Clayton Kershaw, Zach Greinke, Hyun-Jin Ryu, Josh Beckett, Dan Herron, and now Clint Hurdle making his way out to the mound. 6-3, and we'll see whether he has a hook for a hole or not. Cole has made 88. Yep, out he goes. Despite the fact he had those 3 innings, 9 pitches in the 3rd, 6 pitches in the 4th, 7 pitches in the 5th. We'll be back. as Clint Hurdle makes the move and takes out Cole and brings in Tony. Tony's out of Iowa. Garrett Cole stays on the bench to see if his club can continue to hold on to a 6-3 lead. Watson is 6'4", 215. He was originally drafted by the Marlins, but he opted to go to the University of Nebraska, saying he just wasn't ready, wasn't old enough, wasn't mature enough to go professional. And then later on, he signed with the Pirates in 07, and he got up by 2011. Basically, fastball, slider, and a changeup, and he'll keep an eye on Figgins while he works Gordon. And a one-hopper, bad hop. Walker stays with it, and they are going to get two. Wow. What a big play by Neil Walker. That ball really kangarooed, almost jumped over his shoulder. So Gordon hits into a rare double play for him, and the Dodgers are done in the 7th inning. And at the end of 7, 6-3, Pittsburgh. Leading the Dodgers 6-3. Let's take a look at what's ahead. And it will be more of the Bucks. They're here tomorrow night at 7, Saturday at 4, Sunday at 5. And then wrapping up the homestand, 3 games Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday with the Chicago White Sox. And we're certainly hoping to see Jose Abreu. They think now he could very well play in that series. The White Sox are 4 games back of Detroit, so it's another big series. Chris Perez will pick up. He's the 4th Dodger pitcher. Dan Herron went 6th. Brandon Lee came in and could not get anybody. And then finally, Mahalam came in, and it took him a bit before he was able to get the big out because he surrendered the double to Gabby Sanchez. So Chris Perez will be pitching to Starlin Marte. Then it'll be Clint Barnes, and then the pitcher spot occupied right now by Watson. You know, one other note about Garrett Cole. We told you that he is a ground ball pitcher when the game first started. Almost 2-1 ground balls. And sure enough, Garrett Cole, 12 ground ball outs tonight. Two balls, no strikes. Another thing we talked about earlier, the one thing that the Pirates and Dodgers really had in common, neither team doing well at all with runners in scoring position. That is until tonight. One away. Marte tapping to Turner. And that'll bring up Clint Barnes having a big night. Clint 3 for 3. With runners in scoring position tonight, the Pirates are 4 for 7. All 4 hits have come with 2 outs. All scored a run. And Barnes 3 for 3. Batting in the number 8 slot. Ball 1. Six runs, 12 hits for the Pirates. Fly ball down the line. Puig digging, crossing the line. Oh! He held on to the ball. Take another look. He saw the wall and then kind of angled and then rolled his back into the padding. A little pressure on the rib cage, but he held it up to make sure everybody saw that he was holding on to it. So Travis Snyder is now going to come up and bat for Tony Watson. Round of applause from Chris Perez. And Perez promptly nailed. So watching Yasiel Puig, but he appears to be okay. Travis Snyder had 5 pinch hits. Now he's showing his right hand to Andre Ethier. Ethier said what? Two down. Harrison has had 2 clutch base hits to drive in tough runs. Ball 1. Single to right in the 5th inning. That scored Barnes. Single to right in the 7th inning. And then he eventually came around to score. Whoop. Almost fell down. 1-1 to Josh. When the Dodgers come up in the 8th inning, it'll be Ethier, Puig, and Ramirez. Two balls, 1 strike. The paid attendance tonight, 39,463. Runner going, Hopper to third, Turner on the money. A hit batter, a man left. Bottom of the 8th coming up. Ethier, Puig, Ramirez after this. Eighth inning. A couple of happy youngsters, and we're happy to have them here with us. Travis Snyder, who appeared as a pinch hitter, will stay in the game in right field, and Mark Melanson is the new pitcher. So Josh Harrison goes out in that double switch. So Melanson, big right-hander, and we'll give you his background, but we have first time that we have seen Pittsburgh, and of course you have to keep track. 2 days before a team arrives, they might have somebody you missed. Melanson is 6'2", 215, from Golden, Colorado. He was originally drafted by the Yankees and went to the University of Arizona. In high school, he led 4 years in baseball and basketball and 3 times in football. He's quite an athlete. Melanson will be pitching to Ethier, followed by Puig and Ramirez. Andre Ethier tripled in the first inning. Struck out, grounded out since. Load up the right side. And a strike, 0-1. We mentioned it last night, especially because you see all the configurations thrown up against the hitters. That when the very slow-footed Ernie Lombardi played for the Reds, the Dodgers played the infield so deep because they could take advantage of the fact he couldn't run. They played the infield so deep that Lombardi said, it took me 4 years to realize Pee Wee Reese was an infielder. Well, when you look at the game the way it's played now, either side when they load up, you have almost 5 outfielders. Little roller, fair ball, fair ball, fair ball. Well, it isn't fair, and Ethier is out, 1 down. So a nice play by Russell Martin again. Yasiel Puig with 2 doubles and a ground out. 1 double was a pop fly that landed between Harrison and Walker. But then in the 6th inning, he got a ball and hit it so hard, I'm sure he thought it was going to be a home run. He flipped the bat in the air and wound up being a double. The ball hit the padding at the base of the wall in deep right center field. So the amazing Puig, hitting .349, chips in. Going foul, 0-1. I'm not sure, he just was jammed and hurt his right hand. I was wondering if after that collision with the barrier wall, padded as it is, whether he had any ill effects. 0-1. Pulled foul. 0-2. In the dirt. Nice block by Martin, losing his mask. Going to turn the glove, block it, and it was knocked off as the ball came up and hit the mask. Whoa, is right. Take your time, Russell. 1 ball, 2 strikes. 2-2. Mark Melancon, the third pitcher. It's been Cole, Watson, and Melancon. Melancon, kind of a happy guy, I guess. He was in Japan, Team USA, and he saw a three-wheel ground screw vehicle, and he drove it all around the Osaka Dome like a kid would do. 3-2 the count. He apparently also likes to live on the edge a little bit. He sprained his left ankle. While he was pitching, no. While he was hitting, no. While he was running, no. Skydiving. That's this kid, Mark Melancon. Three balls, two strikes. And that got a little bit of Martin. Wow. Yeah, every bone in his body must ache by the time this game ends. Got him. High fastball in 92. Puig looking back as if say, I can't believe that you just struck me out.
Shortstop, number 13, Hanley Ramirez.
One other thing in talking about Melancon, the fact that he is high-spirited, he also graduated as a member of the National Honor Society. Hanley Ramirez fouled out, grounded out, single to right to score Puig back in the sixth inning. At the time, that tied up the game 3-3. That's right. Hanley hitting .246. Bottom of the eighth inning, 2 out, 6-3 Pittsburgh. Fastball in there at 93. Hanley shaking his head no. Okay. Now something to say to Martin. No balls, 2 strikes. Wow, what a great pitch. What a great target. And what a tough pitch to call. Calling it 0-2. He got the inside corner. That was a dynamite pitch. And at the end of 8, take another look. Right there. 6-3 Pittsburgh. Stadium, a Pirate team that over that stretch of 9 games was able to score only 10 runs. But tonight, they finally have come alive at Dodger Stadium, and they lead the Dodgers 6-3. It's been Herron, League, Mahalam, Perez, and now Jamie Wright. For Pittsburgh, Cole, Watson, Melanson. As of right now, the winning pitcher would be Cole, and the losing pitcher would be Brandon Lee. They had to get away in the 7th inning. Neil Walker doing his usual fine job at second base and hitting .282. Single to right in the 1st inning, single to center in the 7th. 1 RBI and a scored run. The double by Sanchez picked up Walker in that 7th inning when the Bucks came alive, scored 3 and broke the 3-3 tie. And Wright starts with a strike, 0-1 the count. No balls, 1 strike. 0-2. We talked about Neil's dad, Tom, and his relationship with Roberto Clemente, the ill-fated flight on New Year's Eve, and the fact that Tom wanted to go with Roberto, who told him, no, stay home, celebrate the new year. Tom was a pitcher and actually pitched in the major leagues for 4 different teams in the 70s. Neil Walker, 28, beat 29 in September. Born in Pittsburgh and a 1st-round pick by the Bucks. And high fly ball, but playable. Matt Kemp on away.
Coming to the plate, center fielder, Andrew McCutchen.
Andrew McCutchen flied to right, grounded to short, grounded to third, and walked. In 9 games prior to today, McCutchen had hit safely in 8 of those 9 at Dodger Stadium. Right. One ball and 1 strike. When the Dodgers come up in the 9th inning, they are due to send up Gonzalez, Kemp, and Turner. Two and 1. McCutchen, 5'10", 185. .27, he'll be 28 in October. And ball 3. So Jamie Wright has been very, very busy with the Dodgers. 23 games, 2-2 with an ERA of 3. And a high fly ball to center. Ethier has a bead on it. Now a glove on it. 2 down.
First baseman, number 17, Gabby Sanchez.
Gabby Sanchez came off the bench and doubled in the 7th inning against Paul Maholm. As we mentioned, he was hitting .344 against left-hand pitching. So he was the right man for the right job. Stayed in to play first base. Brushed the bat, backhanded by Jamie. That'll be that. Down go the Bucks, and here come the Dodgers. Gonzalez and Kemp and Turner after this. Pittsburgh, veteran reliever Jason Grilli coming in. Jason 6'4", 225. And Grilli signed originally by the Giants out of Seton Hall University back in 1997. His dad, Steve, made his Detroit Tiger debut on September the 19th, 1975. And 30 years later, Jason made his debut September the 19th, 2005. 30 years later indeed. What a story. For Jason Grilli, when you look up a little bit about him, his nickname is Grilled Cheese. Now, he lives in Orlando, and if I remember an article I read about him, he is now in the grilled cheese sandwich making business, involved in a large restaurant in Orlando. So no longer just a nickname. Gonzalez walked, popped up, flied to right, 0 for 2. Interesting, he showed bunt because the whole left side is wide open. 0-1 to count. Jason's father, Steve, told him it's okay to be arrogant on the field as long as you're humble off the field. Well, he's out in front of Gonzalez. No balls and 2 strikes. He first came up with the Marlins back in 2000. So it'd be 38 the middle of November. And can still throw 93. Jason was signed up or asked to sign by the Yankees, but he opted to go to Seton Hall instead. High fly ball, but that's all it is. 1 away. So Gonzalez goes 0 for 3 with a walk. The Dodgers' last hit was the single by Ramirez in the 6th inning. That single outscored Puig and tied up the game 3-3. Then as far as the Dodgers are concerned, the game fell apart in the 7th, and they've been unable to recover. Matt Kemp hit into a force play, lined out to second. Hit a little dribbler back to the pitcher in the 6th inning. Little slider for a strike, 0-1. What's it like being a baby and your dad is pitching in the big leagues? Well, Jason could write a book about that. He said, I used to run around in the clubhouse in my diapers asking for bubble gum. Then after I slept through the game, I'd run around the bases. And that's where it all began. 1 ball and 1 strike. 1-2. One and two to Matt Kemp. 2-2. Jason's father, once he retired from the game after the 1981 season, his dad settled in Syracuse, where he's an insurance salesman, and he opened up a sports bar. Wow. Take a look at that. Matt, I think, must have been looking breaking ball. He hung in there a long time. And you just can't do that. We always tell the story of the third base coach with the Yankees who said to DiMaggio, I've got their signs. When I do this, you'll know it's going to be a curveball. He said, okay. And the first pitch, coach signaled curveball. And it was a fastball. And DiMaggio just did get out of the way of it. And then he said to the coach, don't ever give me another sign again, ever. When you're waiting on a curve and it's a fastball, trouble in River City. 2 down, 9th inning. Dodgers have completely stopped. Ramirez had a single in the 6th inning. That's it. Justin Turner singled in the 2nd inning, scored a run, struck out, grounded out since. Scott Van Slyke comes out to bat for Fedorovich, and that's a fair ball down in the corner. Turner jogging into second, ground rule double. So a 2-out double by Turner will bring up Van Slyke to bat for Fedorovich. So Justin Turner goes 2 for 4. And now here's Van Slyke. For the Dodgers, they now have 7 hits, including 3 doubles and a triple, but only 3 runs. Jamie Romack on deck. Van Slyke has to keep the door open. And ball 1. Well, it's a nice touch for Romack, who's been frustrated for 12 years in the minor leagues. His family is here. They made a great effort to be here, although they certainly knew he wasn't going to start. And what are the chances of even seeing him pinch hit? Well, they're this close to seeing him. Wife Kristen, along with his mother and in-laws. quite a large party. There they are. That's part of the family. A small part. At least they've seen him on deck. Jamie Romack. 1-1 to Scott Van Slyke, who has to get on to get Jamie up there. Two and one. And a fly ball, that's all it is. Snyder is there to one-hand it. And so Romack left waiting, which has been the story of his career up to now anyway. So 6 runs, 12 hits for the Pirates. 3 runs, 7 hits, 1 error for the Dodgers. Brandon League suffers the defeat. Really made 15 pitches. Cole picked up the win. And I guess the most outstanding single play of the game would be Yasiel Puig. There was that foul ball, and he'll kind of turn his back a little, stab one-handed, but then he kind of exposed his rib cage, and that took a little bit of a beating, but he held the ball in his glove. So that would be our standout play, and Yasiel survived, as did the Dodgers, for yet another game, and that will be tomorrow night. Until then, we wish you all a very pleasant good evening.